All right, so it's been a minute since I did a podcast. I have three of them. This will be my fourth podcast. My name is Alan C. I'm the CEO of New Kingdom Entertainment. I'm not the smartest person in the world. I don't know everything, but I do know a lot of things. I am perfectly imperfect, and I'm a work in progress. Anyway, let me get to this subject. I spoke on this maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago before Joy Reid said anything about it. And I am so tired of being gaslit. I am so tired of being, being pissed on and told that it's raining. It's about time that we start addressing issues. Like, we talk about a lot of stuff. We talk about what we're going to do about a lot of stuff, but we don't do anything. And that's Black folks and the general public, this country in particular, because this country is so racist and so hypocritical. It's just incredible that people, there's not being more done about what's going on in this world. There is no equal justice. It's just about race and economics. If you're not the right color and if you're poor, you are pretty much pushing a boulder uphill. That's what it is. Let's stop with the BS with not wanting to teach history, calling it critical race history, the 1618 project, and some other things that they are talking about. And they don't want the schools to teach it. They don't want people to know about it because they don't want people to know about the truth. History is history. There is no history like we have a Black History Month, but Black history is 365 days a year. There is no history without the Black man. That's just simple. It's just a fact. It's no, Black history is history, period, full stop. Now, I'm going to do a new segment. My podcast is the name of it is Be Quiet, Grown Folks is Talking. But I'm going to do different segments, and the segment on this here is the segment I'm going to call this segment, Come On Son, like knock it off, like stop with the BS. Now, this woman said something that needed to be said, and she just told the truth, and all the conservatives and Republicans jumped on her, and it like nobody really came to her defense, and it's crazy. And she said what I was thinking 2 weeks ago, and someone finally said it, and I want to commend her for saying it. Now, she's part of the mainstream media, and of course, the mainstream media is biased. All media is biased. We tend to want to believe shit that sounds right to us or that we feel is good enough and like that. And especially, I have to say it, especially Black folks, we operate on our feelings and not on facts. Like we too fast to talk about what we think and how we feel instead of what we know and why we know it. What's the facts behind it? Behind the reason why we know what we know, or we think the way we do. Most people you ask them about something that they feel or they believe, they couldn't explain to you why they feel or believe that way. And to me, that doesn't make any sense. And you know what? That's just for me. Everybody's not like me. Everybody's not supposed to be like me. Everybody's not supposed to think like me. But my thing is, facts matter. Facts matter. Your opinion, not so much. So with that, I'm gonna play this video and then discuss it after it and more about the subject of the fact that it seems if you bring up race, or like they say, playing a race card, if you expose and examine how racist this country is or the racism in this country, then somehow you're a racist for bringing it up, for exposing it, for talking about it. which is insane. So let's watch this video.
As the world watches the devastation unfold in Ukraine, nearly 4,000 miles away, another crisis is deepening that we don't hear much about in the U.S., and that is the war in Yemen. In March of 2015, a Saudi-led coalition backed by the United States intervened militarily in Yemen in a bid to fight Iran-backed Houthi rebels. It has triggered one of the worst humanitarian crises in the world due to widespread hunger, disease, and attacks on civilians. 4 million Yemenis have been forced to flee their homes. Now, what we're seeing in Ukraine is absolutely the worst humanitarian crisis that Europe has seen in decades. But we haven't witnessed the same type of solidarity for the Yemenis as we do for the Ukrainians. We don't see historic sanctions or global campaigns, corporations like Airbnb and Netflix taking a stand. And this is not to say that we shouldn't care this much for Ukraine. Far from it. The point is we should also care this much for refugees and those facing occupation and war in the Middle East and Asia and Africa, too. The coverage of Ukraine has revealed a pretty radical disparity in how human Ukrainians look and feel to Western media compared to their browner and blacker counterparts, with some reporters using very telling comparisons in their analyses of the war.
It's very emotional for me because I see European people with blue eyes and blonde hair being killed, children being killed every day with Putin's missiles.
The unthinkable has happened to them. And this is not a developing third world nation. This is Europe.
This isn't a place, with all due respect, like Iraq or Afghanistan, that has seen conflict raging for decades. This is a relatively civilized, relatively European, I have to choose those words carefully too, city where you wouldn't expect that or hope that it's going to happen.
Civilized. Okay, let's face it. The world is paying attention because this is happening in Europe. If this was happening anywhere else, would we see the same outpouring of support and compassion? Well, we don't need to ask ourselves if the international response would be the same if Russia unleashed their horror on a country that wasn't white and largely Christian. Because Russia has already done it in Syria. This is a teachable moment for us in the media. We aren't afraid to call out our own industry. There is a lot of soul searching that we need to do in Western media about why some wars and lives seem to matter more than others, and why some refugees get the welcome mat.
So this don't seem to be the whole video that I wanted. It's so funny. I had the hardest time finding this video, and this video doesn't play all the way everything that she said. And it's a shame that I can't find the original segment in the whole video. But suffice it to say, she basically said that she told the truth. We only paying so much attention to this. And I saw it like a week or two before she even said this, like everything on the news was about Ukraine. It was all Ukraine all the time. And I was like, wait a minute. There's other places where people are being killed, where even us, even the United States has invaded and killed people and bombed people and did some of the same things. We didn't do it for the same reasons, but what difference does that make? It's the same thing. So that being said, like, why aren't they worried about what's going on in Syria? Why aren't we worried about what's going on in Yemen? And as a matter of fact, what's going on in Yemen, we have something to do with that because we support the Saudis that are doing that to the people of Yemen. Now, they want to say it's not about race, but it is. It's always about race. And HUD, she doesn't always make it about race. She called herself, if you watch the whole video, if you can get a hold of the whole video, she called herself out. She says she's just as responsible being in the mainstream media, of paying attention to just what's happening to white folks and not caring about what's happening to people of color or what's happening to Black folks. We see it all the time. We see it all the time. It's a reason why Kyle Rittenhouse got away with what he got away with. If he was Black, he would have never got away with that shit. He would have never left that scene that night. He would have never left that area. If right now we have a situation where they letting a male who's a transgender play in female sports, and now he's the best swimmer. He's a swimmer, and it's, well, she I guess it's she now, but he was a he, and it's clear that he is basically still a he. If you see a picture of him, you can look at him and see he's still a he, but yet he's allowed to compete against women and just become the best women swimmer in the country. I would say the world now. And then they turned around during the Olympics. They had a female who was actually a female, but because she had, of course, she was Black, and because she had too much testosterone, they didn't let her compete. She couldn't compete against women because they were saying she had an unfair advantage of having too much testosterone. But this man who has become a woman doesn't have an unfair advantage. Come on, son, knock it off. We have a situation with Dave Chappelle. Now, I'm not homophobic. I'm not against, you do it, whatever you do sexually, that's what you do. Whoever you are sexually, that's who you are. But we shouldn't go take that so far as to allow men or people who were men to compete against women. That's just not, that doesn't make no sense. It's just not right. And when we bring that up and say that, now all of a sudden you got to be homophobic or you against LGBTQ people and all that. No, I'm bringing up the fact. I'm talking about the facts. He's basically still a man, even though he's changed his gender. He's basically still a man. That's what Jay Chappelle was trying to say about transsexual people. He was trying to bring up that fact about them, and then not only that, but the fact that he could say all the I'm going to substitute Negro for the N-word. He could tell all the Negro jokes and talk about Black pimps and crackheads and hoes and prostitutes. He could say whatever he want about Black folks, make all the jokes in the world, and it's all good. He's mad funny. He's the funniest person in the universe. But the minute he said something about transsexual or people include that with gay people, it was a problem. He had to shut up. He had to be canceled. He was a nasty person. Now, I don't know what's going on with this situation, with this housing situation in this town, and why he told the city council that he would stop investing in the town and everything like that if they didn't. It was some sort of plan for affordable housing, and he says it wasn't really for affordable housing. It was some BS with it. So he told the city council straight up that if they didn't get their shit together, he wasn't going to invest his money in that town anymore. I don't know what's the real parameters about that and what's okay, but what I do know is what he said, once again, was a fact. It was true. It made all the sense in the world. And the only reason why you didn't understand or get it is because you're biased and you don't want to hear the truth. You can't handle the truth and you don't want to hear the truth. And that's the same thing going on with this situation with Joy Reid. Now, nobody else came to her defense, but one other person did tackle it, and so happened to be another Black woman on MSNBC, and I kudos to her. Her name is Tiffany Cross, and she addressed the issue of how come we're so on this Ukraine thing. Like, these Ukrainian people, like, don't get me wrong, I don't want to see them people, what's happening to them people happen to them people. They did nothing wrong. They wasn't bothering nobody. They was minding their business. But remember who was backing Putin, who even said when he invaded how smart it was for what he did, who actually put a battery in Putin's back. And it was Donald J. Trump. And I believe one of the reasons why Putin is doing what he's doing right now is to take the heat off of Trump, because Trump's got a lot of heat on him, and I don't know what's going on with the Manhattan DA, because all of a sudden now they're not going to indict him, and several of the assistant DAs have quit because of that, saying like they're not going to indict him when they have proof that he's committed many financial crimes, and they're not going to indict him, and that's some bullshit. But that's the hypocrisy of this country. That's white privilege at its finest, and I am so sick of it. One of the reasons why I started this podcast is because I am so sick of the hypocrisy. I'm so sick of the lies. I'm so sick of the misinformation, disinformation. I'm so sick that people don't take the time to find out things for themselves and ready believe any old BS that's told to them or they see on social media. It is sad. It is sad. And I don't really care as much about other people as I do about my own people. So when I see my own people falling for the BS and believing lies that has no basis in reality or fact, I have a problem with it, and I'm going to address it. If I see it on my social media, if I see it in the mainstream media, I am going to address it. It's just that simple. And I basically don't care who don't like it. Like, I ain't no gangster, nothing. I ain't bad, but when it comes to this shit that's going on, I want all the smoke. And with that, I'm out.